Hi, I'm Dr. Mark, and I'm going to help you sing and perform more like the top artists around the world. I'm a professional voice teacher, performance coach, and opera stage director. I've helped thousands of singers around the world learn the techniques and methods that got the top singers to where they are. Today, I'm going to be talking about what makes Freddie Mercury and Montserrat Caballe so awesome. I'm going to be talking about their 1987 Barcelona performance. Shout out to one of my university students, Carissa, who showed me this little gem. So excited to share it with you. I love it. Here we go. Is that a lightsaber? What is this? Love it.
I had this perfect dream.
Sueño me envolvió.
This dream was me and you.
Tal vez estás aquí.
I want all the world to see.
El instinto me guiaba.
Miracle sensation, my guide and inspiration.
Okay, so a few things. One of the things that's awesome is it's just so epic. Look at it. Look at the set that's around them. Look at all the people streaming by with the lights and the smoke, and it's just so epic. I love it. The other reason it's epic is when they enter slowly and calmly. That is a sign of high status. You might think if they are entered aggressively and big and fast, that would be stronger. Not true. Think of it this way. Think of if you take up more time, that means higher status. If you take up more space, that's higher status. Anything that takes up more resources and takes up more space means higher status. Think of a queen, a king, a bride. Then think of lower status. Think of a waiter, a waitress, a groom, right? Here we have these two high status folks that are rocking it here at the start. Now, the other really cool thing that I want you to pay attention to as you're singing is we have two very different sounds. Yes, obviously, one is an opera singer and one is Freddie Mercury, rock singer. And so, of course, they sound different. But the key here is to see what is it that makes them sound so different. What's interesting here as I'm watching is if you'll pay attention to their jaw position and how they're using their mouth, there isn't a huge amount of difference here. There is some here. You'll see in Montserrat that this jaw is really loose, and you'll see some tension here in Freddie's jaw, but not a lot. Both of them have the corners of their lips here tucked, and their lips are out, and so that's really, really consistent. So what is it that makes the difference? Keep watching. We'll talk about it. Okay, they're both releasing that jaw quite a bit, relatively similarly, and at different moments, getting those vowels and really opening. So that's not it.
The wind is a gentle breeze.
Okay, so there's a real difference there. What was the difference? Listen to the breath flow and how they're using it. Think in terms of quantity of air and velocity of air and consistency of air. You'll notice that they're using those differently. The predominant difference here is in the quantity of air, the volume of air they're using. The second difference is somewhat in the velocity of the air or how fast it's going. And there's even less difference in terms of the consistency. They're actually both really quite consistent with their air use and keeping it consistent over the entire phrase, though there still are some differences there. Pay attention there and see if that's at least part of the difference. It's not all of it, but it's a big part. See what you think.
The bells are ringing out. They're calling us together, guiding us forever. Wish my dream would never go away. Barcelona. It was the first time that we met. Barcelona. How can I forget?
Okay, it's really interesting because from here forward, it's really similar. It's really similar. There really aren't that many differences. And in my opinion, none that really account for the difference in sound that we're hearing. Again, not in terms of pitches, that's obviously part of it. And obviously they have different instruments. Nah, we're talking about really the fundamental sound and kind of the style and what it is that makes it sound more rock or pop or more operatic. What is that big difference?
God willing, we will meet again someday.
Well, maybe it's vibrato, right? Nah, they're both singing with vibrato here if you listen. And it's both relatively consistent vibrato, at least here in this moment. Still different sound though, right? You could say, well, it's a different kind of vibrato. Maybe hers is a little bit more accentuated, but not a lot. It's still a relatively easy, consistent vibrato that isn't really big. It's nice and shimmers and small. They're both relatively similar still, but it sounds so different. What is it?
Let the songs begin.
Ah. Now check back here at the back of this jaw and imagine what shape would they have to be making back there to warrant what we're seeing.
Let the music play. Make the voices sing.
Okay, are you trying it? Are you trying to just sit there and empathetically trying to imagine what that sound would feel like in your mouth? What you'd have to do in this space back here behind these back molars to make that sound? Keep trying.
Start the celebrations. Let pride come alive and shake the foundations from the skies. Shaking all our lives.
Notice what happened with that. If you're paying attention to this feeling back here, for her, if you were going up that high note, how that shifted in back. And if you'll notice what shape she made with her mouth there as you went high, oh, try it. Try it when you get your high note to try to imitate the shapes that they're making with this mouth. See what it does. All the way from the back here to the front and just see what difference it makes in your sound. You'll notice both of them here, upper two smile, it's there. Just saying, it's there.
Barcelona, such a beautiful horizon. Barcelona, like a jewel in the sun. Por ti seré donde tú veas. Barcelona, if God is with us. If God is with us to the end, viva! Barcelona!
Other thing I'm finding interesting is the difference in how they're using their hands and their body gestures. They're actually doing really similar gestures, but they're executing them in very different ways. His are much more abrupt, sharper, crisper, and that lines up much more with pop and rock. This kind of aggressiveness, right? And it fits that sound. It's kind of edgier sound. It's got a little more angst behind that sound. Her gestures, she's executing them in a much more fluid, flowy kind of way, which you might think that's just opera. She's operatic and being graceful and moving that way. And true, there might be some of that if you're thinking operatic soprano, graceful, fluid, beautiful, but not necessarily. There's plenty of times you can watch opera all over the place where the soprano's gestures aren't graceful and fluid because it wouldn't make sense. They're dying after all, or they're mad and they aren't graceful and fluid. But here it matches what she's doing with her voice. It's a little more fluid, warmer, richer, a little more romantic, less of an edge to it like his. So even though their gestures are the same, they are executing them in a way that matches their voice. So feels so authentic. They're doing the same gestures pretty much. But if they executed the gestures like each other, one of them wouldn't fit. Or if they just flip-flopped how they're executing them, it would just feel wrong and not right. But because how they're executing their gestures is matching what they're doing with their voice, it feels authentic and believable. Even though they're so contrasting, they're so different, and they're right next to each other, it just fits. It's that person. It's that voice. It matches. And so we'll buy it. Why? Because that's the case in everyday life. Everyone executes similar gestures, the same kind of sets of gestures, but does it in a different way. And we can tell if it's unique to that person, if it matches everything else. It feels right. And we see it side by side by side. And if everyone did it the same, it wouldn't feel right. It wouldn't feel authentic and genuine. So that they do this makes this so awesome. Makes it so believable, makes it engaging, and shows how true they are, not just to their own person, but to the character they've created on stage in this moment, to the music, to their vocal style. It's just genuine and consistent all the way through, which makes it so fun to watch. What can you do today to learn from that? What is it that your body wants to do? Well, just pay attention to it. Pay attention throughout the day of when your body is animated, when it really does a lot, when it does a little. Does it do it smoothly or abruptly? And pay attention to that. The key here to making it work on stage is making sure that you have a clear context in your mind and you're letting yourself live there. They're telling this story about Barcelona, right? And they're letting themselves live there as this character that's on stage reliving this memory. So they don't have to plan it out and plot out exactly how they're executing. Otherwise, they just look awkward and not real. We'd have first date syndrome where someone's really purposely trying to put their arm around someone else's shoulder and it just is awkward. No, they're just being a real person in an imaginary moment. But that takes imagination, it takes forethought, it takes planning in the imagination, in picturing the world around them in their context. So do that. Spend time really thinking about the context of the song you're singing. Gather Google images, create a Pinterest board on the song that you're singing and images that seem to match so you have a rich visual vocabulary to draw from. Okay, love it. How can you not love that? It's awesome. Two icons, two legends who are just having such a great time on stage. If you've watched some of my other videos, you know one of the things that I love the most and get most excited about are when different genres come together, whether they're people representing different genres or one person singing a bunch of different styles and genres together. I just think it's so awesome. I think the contrast is so exciting to hear. So really, really fun. Back to the beginning, and what is that? Is that a lightsaber she's using when she's conducting the conductor in the back? There's an obvious reason why she's using a lit up baton, and that's because they don't want a big spotlight on the conductor, but the orchestra still has to see her. Why did they include the video then? Well, because it's cool. I mean, it's really fun to watch. It's visually interesting, but they don't linger there. They just come back to it every once in a while when they take the big pan shots and we remember it's there. But because they introduced it at the beginning, it's not a strange surprise and we're used to it at that point. So it's really fun. Love these two icons. Hope you did too. Don't forget to check me out on Amino app. Don't forget to check me out on scaleabout.com. Scaleabout's an awesome platform if you have a question, want me to hear something, want me to see something, want me to react to you in a really quick turnaround time, but don't have to actually be there in person. You can send me a recording or type me a message and I'll respond to you. Really, really awesome. Also a great way to check out and see if I'll really be able to help you and if we'll be a good fit if you want to take lessons, or just book a time with me on mrperformingartsstudio.com if you want to take a voice lesson, a performance coaching, want me to work with you or your group to help you sing easier, perform at a consistently higher level. Come see me, mrperformingartsstudio.com. I look forward to working with you online.